we're just talking about this. Planet of the Apes was the very first, like, it's like your Star Wars.
Of my generation. I mean, it was so cutting edge and so extraordinary and thrilling and shocking, you know, seeing apes sitting on horseback, you know, and catching humans in nets, you know, when you're 13 or 14 years old. Back in the day, it was like, you know, I couldn't quite, you know, kind of, you know, here we are, sort of, you know, 30 years later on, and you know, amazing that to get the chance to play this role.
It must have been really interesting because when this, you know, because you're watching this movie and it's so interesting to see how humans kind of deserve to get what their comeuppance in this film, and it is very timely, and it's so when you were kind of reading the script and you have this reference to this kind of film growing up and stuff, what was your reaction like when you saw it, and then how did you kind of want to be a part of this film?
Well, I mean, I had a great, I mean, the reaction to the script was I couldn't put it down. It was a real page turner. It was just, not only is it, you know, obviously it's part of a kind of heritage franchise, but it also, it was just beautifully crafted, and was, for a blockbuster kind of a movie, it just had so much heart. It had real, you know, real soul. It was you know, the journey from the domestic opening to the film to the kind of the epic kind of finish is phenomenal. I think it's got a really great drive, and of course the character of Caesar just blew me away when I read it on the page, because it's just such an amazing journey for any actor to play. You know, that role is a phenomenal role.
To be able to play variations of this ape, you know, from baby to adult, you know, what did you kind of go through in order to like tap into a baby ape? You know, like, what did you go to the zoo, or like how does one kind of?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, there are kind of various stages of preparation for a role like this. You know, there's the observation stage where I was hanging out with apes and watching footage, and then he's based really on a real chimpanzee called Oliver, who was known in the 1970s as the humanzee. He was brought up with human beings, and he walked bipedally, and he looked very strange, and people did think he was a missing link for a while. He went through a lot of scientific experiments, and eventually it's proven that he wasn't. But you know, he very much was a touchstone character. But I mean, you learn. We then had to kind of all the actors playing the ape characters had to learn the basic chimp language and in terms of physicality and so on. But that's just the first step of the ladder. It's more about, for me, it was a huge character arc and understanding, you know, playing this kind of young innocent who's brought up by human beings and cherished and loved and nurtured, and then the moment of self-recognition that he's different, and that he's been fed this medicine or inherited this Alzheimer's drug that's come through his mother, and he's had this super intelligence that he's unaware of, and then you know, this kind of this moment where he's taken away and rejected from his family, that he is loved and thrown into this kind of hardcore prison with all these dysfunctional apes that he galvanizes and leads to freedom. I mean, it's a fantastic sort of variation. So the director, Rupert Wyatt, and myself, you know, we had to really find ways of making that characterization believable and not over anthropomorphized, so that it was too kind of saccharine, and you know, all the time it was a big challenge in terms of pitching the performance.
To be able to work with Rupert, what kind of a director is he? Because he's quite, I mean, this is only his third film or second film, and so to see somebody kind of attack a film like this, which is so big huge compared to what he's done before.
I mean, it's an amazing thing, and he you know, he really, I think he's a brilliant director, absolutely terrific, and really understands story and really understands character, and really fought for the important things that you see in the movie to be there, you know, because there's a lot of subtle, you know, a lot of the story is made up of subtle moments, and it's the accumulation of these tiny little story moments and beats that you could on you know, in a rough cut edit kind of go, oh well, we'll get rid of that because we need to get onto the action, you know, if you're being pushed in that way. But he absolutely held on to them because he believed very firmly, and he's, you know, he's such an enabling director, and because he has such an authority of the material, it was fantastic working with him.
Some of the best like human ape moments with Caesar is with John Lithgow. So what was it like kind of working with him? And I don't know if you can kind of describe it, because it's beautiful.
No, I mean he is an extraordinary actor. He and James Franco, and you know, and that's the great thing about performance capture technology is it's reached a point where you can work on a live action set and just play opposite the other actors, and you know, what more could you ask for? There's both in their own individual ways, and Frida Pinto, of course, as well. You know, just totally giving and believed the process, and you know, treated me as if I was Caesar, which is what they were required to do. You know, it's all about believability. They have to believe in the character that they're playing opposite, and much as they, you know, as the same they would between themselves, and so. Because I think people misunderstand performance capture. They think it's some sort of strange, weird occupation that you do outside.
I think people just see dots, you know, like it's just unfortunate.
But actually, you know, at the end of the day, you know, what it does is it's become a very transparent tool, so that you can just act with the other actors, and you know, they're not having to look into my eyes and see a face full of prosthetic makeup and me covered in fur. They're able to interact with me as Caesar, but just really be able to look into my eyes, and you know, I'm being that character, but it's a very real interaction. So all of the emotions are very believable and connective, and so it's really inspiring working with those guys. You know.
And I know this was you were able to shoot outside. Like, it was one of those few moments where they created the technology to shoot out in the real world, which is kind of amazing.
Every single shot was on a live action location, whether you know, it was inside or actually, you know, the San Francisco bridge sequence. There was a kind of 400-foot section of bridge, and you know, before now the cameras wouldn't have been able to cope with that amount of reflective light of cars and things like that. But the suits we're wearing now with the markers on allowed that to happen.
I'm going to nerd out. Last question. Hobbit?
Yeah?
Please tell us something, because, you know, we're fans, and we know that you're second director on this. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. I'm having a ball down there. And, you know, we've shot for 60 days. We've got 200 days to go. And, yeah, you know, I mean, it's all guns blazing. It's fantastic, really. You know, all the old crew are back, and obviously lots of new cast, and so it's thrilling.